Okay, today I am excited to show you the brand new Air Hogs Gyroblade. This is a 3-channel single rotor helicopter with a gyro, and it's developed by Silverlit, and it is awesome. This thing, I mean, it just looks cool. It's got metal parts on it, metal landing gear. It's just really, really cool looking. You may think that it kind of looks like the Havoc Heli, but really it is quite different. They look similar but fly completely differently. It's actually more like the Helix 360, which is a 4-channel helicopter that they released a year or two ago. It basically functions the same way. It flies forward and backwards by actually angling the main rotor instead of using weights inside the body like the Havoc does. Like, this actually flies forward. You can give it right stick input and it'll fly forward as long as you want it to. Air Hogs has made 3-channel helicopters before, like the Heli Replay, but this is a coaxial helicopter and it moves forward by lifting the tail with this rear prop. And those just always tend to, they want to level back out. The nature of the coaxial blades makes them want, so like you give it forward input and it'll kind of start to fight you and try to bring the helicopter back level. And so the nice thing about the Gyro-Blade is with the single rotor, it doesn't do that. And with the gyro, it'll keep flying forward as long as you want it to. And it's really quick because of the single rotor. It's not quite as stable as a coaxial, but it is still plenty easy to fly for, even a beginner, but maybe a little bit more intermediate pilot. A few little details. It does have a little section here that you can slide forward and backward a little bit. I haven't found that it makes too much of a difference on how much it flies forward or not. It does tend to move forward a little bit on its own. You can give it some back input and actually kind of hold it in a hover for a little bit, but otherwise it will fly forward very slowly on its own. The controller is pretty standard Air Hogs controller. You've got the charging cable built in, trim buttons, and then you've got forward and backward and left and right yaw with the rudder, the tail, on your right stick. And then the throttle is spring instead of ratcheted, which I would prefer it weren't springs, but I'm going to probably look to see if I can open the controller and remove that spring. And then you've got a little light on the front of the helicopter that you can turn on and off with that button. I did notice that I think this is one of the first, if not the first, Air Hog controller that has these little thumb pads on the controller for people that fly with their thumbs. It kind of gives a nice little grip in there. But I'm a pincher, and so I actually prefer not to have those. And I noticed that you can actually pull them off, and then you've got your normal pegs that you can grab and pinch. So that's pretty cool. That's a new feature I haven't seen before on Air Hogs. Let's see, it charges in about 35 minutes, flies for about 6 to 7 minutes. It comes with 2 extra props in the box. And a couple of things I did notice, the on-off switch is in a really weird location. It's just wedged in here between like the plug and just other parts, and it's hard to get your finger in there. You kind of have to have a fingernail to grab it, and I'm afraid I'm going to miss and break one of the landing gear. But you kind of get in there and get the on-off switch. I'll turn it on and show you. Alright, so you'll see here in the main shaft, it actually moves with forward and backward input. It's angling the prop, and that's how it gets forward and backward flight. So that's really cool. And then it does left and right by lowering the speed or speeding up the rear prop, which spins the tail. I did notice that when the battery gets low, instead of kind of gracefully dying and letting you land, When this thing's battery dies, it just stops and it falls out of the air. So you got to be kind of careful, pay attention as the battery is starting to die, that you land it, because it will just fall. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about it. Let's go check out some flight footage. Okay, this is the flight of the Air Hogs Gyroblade. I'm going to start out by taking off from the ground so you can kind of see what I was talking about, how it gets a little squirrely from takeoff, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, there it is. You'll see it is very stable. Almost, if you give it a little bit of back, you can kind of hold a hover. It wants to go forward a little bit on its own. But yeah, you can see super stable. We'll give it some forward flight there. That's full forward. So not super fast, but pretty fast compared to other Air Hogs. Oops. So yeah, normally I just launch it from my hand. And we'll do some pirouettes. See, it's got a lot of rudder authority. A little bit slower to the left. And it flies backwards. Very cool helicopter. Kind of do some stunts with it, get real fancy. And this is one of the most fun Air Hogs there is. And then it's got a little light I can turn on there, a little red light. Doesn't do much good in here. And it trims out really nice since it's got the tail rotor instead of coaxial. The tail rotor is what's holding it straight, and those tend to trim much better. So it holds its tail position pretty well. Yeah, as you can see, I can do pretty much whatever I want with it. This is a fun Air Hogs. Alright, let's take it in for a landing. And there it is, the Air Hogs Gyroblade. Very cool looking helicopter. I really like this one. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe, and I'll see you soon.